And now what I'd like to do is, without further ado, introduce our moderator who will take it from here and give us the rest of the rest of the 45 minutes that we're together, to a deep dive conversation on peer support specialists. And to do this is none other than a man who has been working in this field longer than I've been alive, Dr. Dr. Rich Davila. He is a recovery life coach professional with over 35 years of experience in education, addiction training, and community work, and actually longer than that because I'm actually older than 35. His experience has earned him a position on the initial review group for substance abuse and mental health service administration. And during his tenure at Springfield College, he received the highest faculty distinction, the Distinguished Professor of Humanics. Today, Dr. Davila is a widely respected recovery coach who also specializes in training individuals who hope themselves to become recovery coach professionals. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Davila, and I will let you introduce the panel.
Okay, so I like to say my name is Rick, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means is that I walked into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in 1966, and I'm still here. And so I tell people that I'm a dinosaur in this field. However, I'm a progressive dinosaur. So glad to be here, and thank you for asking me here, and I appreciate it. All right, so first I'll introduce our panelist of peers. Joining us is Tim Huff from Operation PAR, Nathan Conti from Hope Shot, Chantel Dias from Zero Life Center, and Nicole Medina Rodriguez from the Florida Harm Reduction Collective. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to ask you some questions for you to please introduce each one of you. Introduce yourselves. Take 2 minutes. Let's start with the order I started with. Tim.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Tim Huff, and I work for Operation PAR. I'm a recovery peer specialist, and I actually work with the COSAP grant, which is the collaborative on opiate and stimulant substance abuse program that was granted to Pinellas County about a little over a year ago. With EMS is heavily involved with that and so forth. And as a result, I was a new peer at that point. I've been a peer just a little, about a year and a half now, I guess it's been. And, I really, on the job, actually, I do work a lot in the hospital environment. I work at some of the different Baycare hospitals, and, just work on a daily basis, trying to help folks that are ready to get help, to engage them into services and try to get them set up with some type of services. And I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to go into what got me interested in to get involved with to become a peer specialist. Really was I was at that point about 2.5. I'm just getting ready to celebrate 5 years of sobriety. I was about 2.5 years sober, and I went to my sponsor and I said, I hate my job. And instead of he kind of recommended, led me down this path of self introspection, looking at what I might be good at, what I might want to do when I grow up, those types of things. And I came across information about peer support services. Never thought I'd be the guy who would be involved in quote unquote recovery type of anything. And as a result, I went through and became certified, and I absolutely love my job. I feel like it was meant to be. I feel like it's perfect for me, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to grow in this field and in this position.
Thank you very much, Tim. I like what you said before, Tim, that you love your job. I talk a lot about. I'm a recovery coach professional designation, and I I have an LCSW, I have my PhD, and I have my RCP, which is Recovery Coach Professional designation. And the RCP ranks the highest for me
Mm-hmm.
because I could share who I am and share what my recovery is about. And so, yeah, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more on that, Tim, if you can. And you love your job because they say, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah. I don't know. One thing that it really does is it keeps, where I came from real, on a daily basis. And it also, it gives me the opportunity to be able to identify what someone might be going through and to share, bits and pieces of my life as time allows in the specifics in any given situation. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time, but I that being said, I still have pretty much some latitude to take the time that I need. But I don't go into like all the ugly details with each and every person by any means. And but it's really very fulfilling to be able to spend some time with folks that are really in a very horrible place in their life. um, Say they're ready to begin the process. Maybe they've tried over and over and over again. That's something that I did. you know um, it took me about 15 years from the very first white chip till. And so, a lot of people consider themselves chronic relapsers, that type of thing. So I can identify with that. I can help kind of share a little bit of my journey and where I was the last time when I came in the door. And so it just really gives a lot of self-satisfaction to be able to share um, just real life experience with folks that are going through real life experience and the consequences of years and years of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the ability to be sort of authentic and be who you are completely and be able to share in a moment from your own experiences, I think is what's powerful
Yeah.
in peer support relationships.
Oh, hi. I guess I'll introduce myself. I had the wrong link, I guess. But yeah, my name's Nikki, and I work with Florida Harm Reduction Collective. Currently, we are working on vaccine navigation. That's our main grant that is utilizing peers.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Oh, yes. So, I've been doing this specific work since 2019. I guess before we really established the Harm Reduction Collective. But I've been doing street outreach, so I go directly to the street and talk to people who are experiencing homelessness, unstable housing, and specifically people who are injecting drugs. So we link them to resources and kind of coach them and just making more healthy decisions in their life. So not necessarily pushing them towards recovery, but more so towards well-being and a healthier state of mind. So we do a lot of Narcan distribution, Narcan trainings, developing trainings, and providing technical assistance to anybody who would like to implement harm reduction into their programming.
What got you involved in doing this?
In 2019, my best friend passed of an overdose, and it really hurt. And I went to my support group to find support, and I was kind of met with indifference almost. So I kind of separated myself and started doing harm reduction work. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was already a peer.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so my name is Chantel Dice, and as she said, I work for Zero Hour Life Center. I have been in recovery for going on 6 years. So I'm a recovery coach at 0 Hour. Basically, we help people break down boundaries between them and their recovery and kind of walk through their recovery journey with them. So it's a little bit about me and what I do here. As I said, I've been recovering myself for almost 6 years. I've lost many people to addiction. So it's definitely a passion that I have to help other people that are struggling as well.
Okay, well, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name's Nathan. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm a director of peer support at the Hope Shot, from the Hope Shot. A little bit of my history. I come from 20 plus years of heroin addiction. Spent over 14 years in prison, and I got sober in 2018, and just plugged into this deal and got involved with peer support work through sober escorts, doing companion work, assisting on interventions, and also transports to and from treatment to the house or vice versa. And and then the Hope Shot, that started roughly a little over a year ago. My good friends Justin and Johnny started it. It was originally a podcast, and it has kind of metamorphosed into this giant deal. It's we become the RCO for Pasco County. We partnered with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office to help with first response to overdoses, and we're heavily involved in the community, offering peer support, recovery coaching, anything to make the jump from active addiction and or alcoholism to long-term recovery. And and that's the consolidated version. I don't know if you wanted me to go any more in depth, but that's where I'm at now.
So I was asking a question for you and Timothy. The question was, we're wondering in what ways have you been supported by peers in your own recovery? So that's open for both Timothy and Nicole.
So for me, I guess really what I think of when I think of your question, I guess, is just that it's helped to increase, my network, my safety network, if you will, with other folks that have like experiences in building relationships and such. I'm very active in my own program, so in many regards, even though the folks in recovery meetings aren't quote unquote peers, but yes, they kind of are. So I'm very involved with that and as well. So I mean, just overall, just a huge amount of support and relationship building for myself, I should say.
Nicole, what ways have you been supported by peers in your own recovery?
I'll have to second what Timothy said. So I never really had an official peer support specialist to assist me in my recovery. I was just kind of rogue and figuring things out on my own. So, the original support group that I started off with was really helpful. And, like he said, they're peers as well. And into my development further on into recovery, finding people in the harm reduction community has been really helpful, and kind of helping myself and others troubleshoot what's going to work for them in their recovery.
So following up on that, it sounds like we probably need to build in this state more support groups around peer recovery support specialists. There's a group that you can bounce stuff off of and share your experiences and grow together. Do you think that would be helpful?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
I think
Yes,
I
sir.
think there's platforms already. Sarah Shepard with DCF runs
Mhm.
supervisory call, and I think a call for peer specialists as well. I'm not sure if that's in the same realm, but there's some platforms.
Okay.
I think that peers have been extremely instrumental in my recovery because I was definitely one of those people that if you didn't go through what I went through, I didn't want to talk to you type person. I was like, how can you relate to me? So just knowing, that someone had been where I was at some point and had gone through it and come out on the other side, it gave me the hope that I needed to continue my recovery journey.
Okay. You say you're one of those people that if you haven't been through what I've been through, you don't know what you're talking about. That I always say that when someone says that, it's sort of like a deflection, and then I always talk about that, especially with allies in recovery. When I do my recovery coach training, I also have a lot of allies in recovery that take the training, and I often say it's like maybe you can learn something from someone who has learned how to negotiate dealing life on life's terms without picking up a drug or a drink.
This is true.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Okay. So thank you for sharing all of that. I appreciate that. What ways have peers impacted your recovery, if at all? I mean, I don't know what your pathway of recovery is, but you could share it and tell us what ways peers have impacted your own personal recovery.
Well, I went through a 12-step program for recovery. So definitely, in my situation, guiding me through the steps. Peers, as I said, I've lost a lot of people since I've been sober to addiction. So other people that had also lost people through addiction was definitely a big one for me. People who I lost my children, I had the DCF case situation. I needed guidance through that. Just basically I burned my life to the ground. I mean, I was living in the streets. So anybody that, had a smile on their face and was doing better than I was at that point, I was like, please show me your ways, because I didn't know. I didn't know where to start or what to do.
Okay.
Okay, I have a really great answer for that. So, since I was 19, every time I got in trouble, I got sent to prison, right? And I was never. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a guy who ran out of drugs and had no options, And so I would find myself, in and out. And it's funny because I've like witnessed firsthand the evolution of my county and how kind of the tide has changed and people have become more receptive, more aware that this is substance abuse disorder is like is a real thing, that addiction or alcoholism is a disease, and that it's not best treated by throwing someone in prison, right? So in 2000, the last time I got in trouble and I was in the system, it was I got in trouble in 2016, but when I had to face the music, it was 2018, and I was approached by actually I initiated an interview with Billy Majors, but I was blacked out on Xanax and I don't really remember it. And when I finally ended up in jail, he came to visit me and he said, well, are you we started talking, and he was acting like that we've talked before, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are, why are you here, type deal. And he eventually told me that we had an interview about a few months ago, which I didn't remember at all because I was a mess. And he's like, "Are you still interested in treatment?" And I said, "Absolutely." So the same judge that had been saying that she was going to send me to prison for, the last couple of years in and out of court, and then had sent me to prison 3 other times, finally gave me an opportunity for treatment. And that opportunity, and I've been sober ever since. So I saw that in that I saw how things have changed in our community. I saw, and then I was exposed to treatment for the first time, where I mean, the treatment place I had, I was at the Phoenix House in Ocala, and it was a great facility. It offered me a safe environment to thrive in. But what I did is, I took it upon myself to take advantage of that safe space, and I did the work. And once I did the work, I I had all types of people come into my life, and I just got plugged in and got connected. So yeah, it was that peer, which was Billy Majors, who actually started this whole thing for me, man. He showed up to court for me. He spoke on my behalf, and he said everything that I had been really feeling for the last 20 years. That I just needed a break, and I didn't need prison, because every time I went in prison, I would perpetuate the same behaviors and engage in the same activities that I was before I went in, because there's just as many drugs in there as there are out here. And yeah, thankfully for that peer, and I was able to start this recovery journey, and now in turn try to do the same thing for others just like me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing. Appreciate that. We're caught up now with the panel. So now, excuse me, I'm going to ask each panel member a specific question about what do you think is the best part of being a peer? What is the best part of being a peer in the work that you do? So I'll start off with the ladies. I'll start off with Nicole. What is the best part of being a peer?
Well, I often don't get to see people get better because of the nature of what I do. I'm on the street a lot, and it's particularly difficult for people who are not resourced to gain recovery and really gain those things back in life. So I would say in this part of Florida, I'm up in the northeast part of Florida, utilizing peers is relatively new. So I just like that I can brainstorm and we can come up with new program development and just find creative ways to help people. So that's probably my favorite part.
Okay. All right. How about Chantel?
I think that the best part of being a peer would have to probably for me be just all the pure agony that I went through in addiction, getting to turn that stuff into somewhat of a positive by sharing that with others, and seeing them kind of nod their head and, or maybe even cry a little bit because they relate to it, is definitely one of the best parts for me. And I work with a lot of people in drug court too. And so like, they're not not all of them, but a lot of them aren't ready for recovery. And so to see those people like really the light come on in their eyes and then kind of grab hold of this thing is extremely rewarding for me.
Okay. Tim, what is the best part of about being a peer?
Did you say me?
Yeah, Tim.
So, I guess probably just that, interacting and sharing my experiences. I think Chantel even said, seeing that light come on, and really probably, I think maybe like getting them into like service, whether it's into a detox or into, some type of rehab, something along those lines. That's really, really a cool thing. And it's been my experience too to kind of, I don't know, run into a few of them, like a month later, like at one of those anonymous places. That's really cool. So, yeah, those are the cool things, I think.
All right, Nathan, what is the best part of being a peer?
I'd have to say that, okay, so I spent so many years filled with regret, shame, and guilt over the things I did, what I saw, what I felt, and stuff like that. And this kind of parallels with my recovery as well. It's not many people in life in general, not just in our arena, but otherwise, have the opportunity to find their purpose. And in that, and then not only find their purpose, but to live it out on a daily basis. So the ability for me to take my experience, which was the very thing that kept me in that cycle of chaos, for so many years, and use it as an asset and translate that and transmit it to somebody to where they can relate and I can get down on their level, and it makes them more apt or more prone to give this thing a shot is truly rewarding and something I'm extremely grateful for.
Thank you. Thank you all. I thank you all for sharing that. I'm thinking about myself in this here, and the best part for me, because I've been a clinician, had my own practice and all of that, and I taught clinical courses at the university. But what I find is a free flowing of exchange of ideas and the ability to look at people at what's right with them. So many times we're trained in the helping professions to identify the problem, but what I find is being a peer, I'm not identifying a problem. I'm trying to identify strengths in a person, and that's the nice free flowing exchange I have in that. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so the next question. We would be interested in knowing what challenges each of you have faced as a peer. What challenges have each of you faced as a peer? We'll start with Chantel this time.
I think probably the biggest challenge for me with working, with drug court and stuff like that is, like I kind of touched on before, sometimes to them it's just like another thing they have to do. So you're kind of met with some aggression in the beginning sometimes. They're not really happy to be there. And so maybe like engagement, I would say, getting them to engage with you and trying to get them to come back. One of the challenges, also the, rewarding side of it when they do.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Nathan? What is the challenge that you find being a peer?
I think the biggest challenge for me is really a lack of the biggest detour that I always find is getting people into detox like that for us, like, because we're dealing with people that without insurance, without resources. Obviously, I know I didn't come into recovery flush. You know what I mean? So it's finding these people, finding these certain individuals, a place to get well. Not only to detox, but then for long-term treatment as well. I mean, although the treatment side of it we found is a lot easier, but it's that first initial detox, and especially here in Pasco County where there's like a one-stop shop. That's the only show in town, and that has been my greatest challenge as a peer, because it's frustrating when somebody actually is willing to get help and we can't find a place for him to facilitate that.
Okay. How about you, Nicole?
This is a great question. I have a lot of challenges. Harm reduction is relatively new to as far as services in Florida. Um, so a lot of times I feel like I struggle with having a voice that actually matters. Um, because in my experience, working with clinicians, it's almost like clinicians are up here and then peers are down here and they try to tell us, hey, we're at the same table, we're working on the same things, but we're not treated that way. It's almost like there's a stigma on peers who are working in the community. So like having a voice that matters in the grand scheme of things and being paid accordingly, like we've almost, lost our lives to get these positions, and it's difficult to make a living off of just peer work. The only reason I'm able to do it now is because I'm not just a peer specialist. I develop trainings, I provide technical assistance, and a lot of other things that I've been able to develop over the years. And I would say the other thing is vicarious trauma is very real. And then having a workplace that's supportive of you and your experiences, it's just been very difficult. There's not a whole lot of trauma-informed workplaces available for peers or probably anybody, actually.
Thank you very much, Nicole. You're absolutely correct. Changing the mindset of the stigma and labels attached to addiction recovery is really a challenge. Timmy, you prefer Timothy or Tim?
Tim, that's fine. Thanks.
Tim, yeah.
And I only answer to Timmy with my mom. So anyway, I'm sorry. That was just, I digress. I think, really Nathan and Chantel, two of the things that, like the pay is not the best. But the biggest challenges I feel for myself that I have is that I can't seem to find enough resources for all of the people that really want help. Sometimes those resources are met with, a lack of beds available. Sometimes it's level of care that's needed beyond what certain places are able to provide. Some places it's the fact that the homelessness, the chronic homelessness, with this demographic, kind of intersects homelessness a lot. And so it's just that there doesn't seem to be enough resources in the community to be able to place everyone that wants help. That's huge. That's really unfortunate, but I would agree with what the other peers have shared along those lines.
Yeah, and I guess one of the challenges that I could see is the respectability for what we do as peers by the professional community. You have people who are clinicians and are unable to see the value of what a peer support specialist can do. Some of them don't. Some of them do. Okay. So we're interested in hearing where each of you see yourselves in 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'll start with Tim, since I've been asking Tim last. The other ones.
Well, I would be lying if I just celebrated my 51st or 61st birthday, so I'd be lying if I said, running anyway, I digress again. I really, I hope to see a lot of like growth in this field, to be honest with you. I really do. I see myself maybe, being a part, but maybe on a part-time basis at that point. But I'm looking forward to being able to not only be a part as, a team, like in the type of environment that I work now, but also, maybe be, leading some peer groups, and that type of thing. I'm really kind of like, I think I have a heart towards that. as well. So that's just the honest answer, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How about you, Nathan? 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Okay, so in 5 years, where do I see myself? Well, the surfer in me says hopefully living on the beach somewhere on the East Coast, but that's a whole other subject. But I just see myself more immersed in this work. Hopefully, able to work full time with it and be paid accordingly, so I can focus all my energy and time and helping others and getting them the resources they need. I see myself. I see our group, the Hope Shot, starting to reach. Hopefully, just not in our community, but on a national level as well, which we are doing already in a podcast. But I'd like to be more hands-on and getting around and just it kind of it goes against my whole mindset because I'm always hammered in to be present. But yeah, 5 years I see myself doing this, but on a level I probably can't even conceive of right now because I can't even believe I'm where I'm at just a year into this deal. So yeah, I just but hopefully I'll be able to do it full time and be paid accordingly for it. So because this is my passion, this truly won't do. Yeah, and then I wouldn't have to be calling you for my work truck either.
Okay. Well, actually, there was another part to that question which I forgot to ask, and that where do you see yourselves in 5 years without structural limitations? So I'm going to continue on and ask Chantel next. Where do you see yourself in 5 years without structural limitations?
So I'm definitely going to be going, I want to do some schooling. So I want to, move up the ladder in the aspects of getting more education and, our recovery community organization is ever changing. It's growing, so much. And so my hope is to, move up the ranks here and be able to, sustain the financial stability that we all crave, especially being a single mom, and to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. I love being in the streets with these people and meeting them where they're at. And so I'm hoping that I, will still be able to do that.
Thank you. Nicole, without structural limitations, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully running a syringe access program and helping other organizations to implement those kinds of programmings and harm reduction, and continuing, what I'm doing now essentially is trying to bring more awareness and more services and more money for harm reduction. Really just developing that. Come a long way in the 2 years I've been doing this, and I would have never imagined getting this far. So I can't imagine what 2 years from now will look like. But yeah, I'm excited to just keep going in harm reduction and continue to push for those services.
Thank you very much. I thank you all for sharing. Do you want to add something, Nathan? Because I forgot to throw in without structural limitations to you.
No, that kind of correlates with my longing to be, compensated for. I wish I was getting paid more, and I'm like, shit, you're doing better than me. A little dose of perspective for that person there, So without, I hope that not only our community but our state government and then the national government sees how great of an asset that we are and does the right thing,
Okay.
as far as
thank you very much.
Stuff like that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Dr. Dávila, thank you. Rick, I have a question for you because you helped to create one of the trainings for peer support specialists, and I know that you still train peers, and folks have been asking in the chat, if they're interested in becoming a peer, how do they get trained? Where do they go? And we have been putting some resources, but I wanted to also give you the opportunity to respond because you might have thought of something that neither Kelly nor I thought of.
Well, first of all, I do trainings in the state of Florida to become a recovery coach, and people could find out about that on www.recovery, the number 4 all, recovery for all, to find out about that. And the last part of your question, what was that?
No, that was it. That was, where can people find out more about becoming a peer, certified peer support specialist and getting in? And Tim has an idea too.
Is that recoveryforall.com? Doctor?
Yeah, recovery, the number
thank you.
4 all.com, recovery
Thank
for
you.
all. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I just want to say that I really enjoyed doing this. I love talking about recovery. I have a passion for recovery. So if anytime anybody wants to keep talking about recovery, I'll keep talking. I love it.
Well, I am so grateful for you all for joining us. I know that there's a lot of demands on all of your times, whether you're in a hospital/treatment setting, harm reduction setting, the problem-solving courts, or working with the sheriffs and law enforcement. There are a lot of demands on your time, and thank you for taking this hour to spend with us. And I think that this was a really productive conversation. I honestly was very excited for this panel because it's not every day that we get to talk to folks who are on the ground doing the actual direct service, this non-clinical direct service that's so important. And so y'all also give us a perspective that I think needs to be rearticulated over and over and over again because it is important, and it is. I don't want to use the word therapeutic because it's not clinical in nature, but when someone really has walked where you have walked and has experienced the things that you've experienced and makes themselves vulnerable enough to reach out and tell you about their experience in order to help you move through your experience, it is life-changing. And I know that those of you on this panel that I've spoken to who've had that have all shared with me that y'all have had that specific experience in working one-on-one with folks in whatever arena you are. And I want to thank you because every life matters. And right now it's really scary because so many people are dying. And the more people that y'all can help transition into recovery or practice safe habits when it does come to their use, hopefully the less funerals that our families across Florida will have to attend. So thank you all. Wonderful panel.